This week's big topics is Cyberpunk, which I don't know. I'm kind of tired of seeing Cyberpunk in the news. It's been a wild week for them, and I didn't care about this game before launch, but clearly there's a lot that happened, so we have to talk about it. What have you been playing, Greg?
More Cyberpunk. Did get some weird bugs. Like I had actually one earlier today. I dumped in, a decent amount of hours, so things are starting to shape up. But yeah, I got this like bug where I had to go finish this mission by talking to this person, and it was stuck in like scan mode, and I couldn't get out of it. And I was like just getting into where I had left off the game last night,
Mhm.
and it was just like, oh, now this, and then I had to load my same checkpoint, and then I went back and I didn't save like all the skill points that I had attributed to different things, and then I was like, well, fuck, did I spend it on this? And then I had sold a bunch of weapons and stuff too, and I was like, damn it. And then so I had to go back and like resell them and stuff. But they did like a small update, which I noticed a lot of the taxing graphics display options were a little bit better. I actually don't know what I'm getting in terms of frames per second. I have it set to 60, but I don't quite know where it lands. But it's weird. Like sometimes I'll set the preset for the overall global graphic settings to like high or to like medium, and it struggles. But then I turn the FPS up and it's fine. So I'm sure they have more bugs to squash alongside the fires that they've been putting out lately.
Are you playing
Um,
on Xbox, sorry, or on PC?
PC.
Okay.
So it's not completely void of bugs. They are there, and people have been experiencing them on across all platforms. But as Sean would say, more so on the base consoles that it was developed for.
Hmm.
But
Do you guys want to talk about the Cyberpunk week? Because I kind of don't. But I
I
know, Sean,
mean,
you've been making videos after video after video. Like Cyberpunk's been keeping the RGT house alive this week, I find.
it's been great for the channel. I mean, I don't care either way. I mean, I already made a video on it, and there was more shit today with the whole file save thing, but I believe that's only for the PC version. I mean,
what
at the
was
end of
it?
the file save on the PC version, if it gets too big, it could corrupt your file and delete your save data.
Yeah.
Oh, excellent.
Like if you, it's literally based on like how much stuff you pick up or something. Like it's a really bizarre thing. I
Well,
mean,
I
I
did
think
notice something today. Like I kept getting the inventory full warning, even though I had like discarded a bunch of shit.
that's probably why.
Ugh.
I mean,
It's
at
the
the end of the
game.
day,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
was a
fuck yeah.
game. I think I could sum it up. I mean, it was a game that was in development for too long, got too ambitious. They tried to shoehorn a console version in through the development of the PC cycle. They lied to the press, they lied to everyone. The review process was bizarre at the very least. And now there's actually a level of accountability that you haven't seen with games before. You've never seen a AAA game get pulled off a PSN. You've never seen a AAA game get offered refunds because it's not the product that they. And I mean, that's not to say it's a bad game. I don't think it's a bad game. Um, as far as the core concepts are concerned, there's just no execution of them. And like I said, I feel like the long development cycle hurt the game, and they tried to make the game uh, too ambitious, and they yeah, it lost sight. Like, what is Cyberpunk 2077? Like, I ask myself that question so many times when I'm playing it because there's so many mechanics that the game throws at you, but you never have to do them. You never are told how to do the crafting system. I've played the game for like 10 hours. I haven't crafted a single thing. The game never tells you anything about crafting. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's it was just too ambitious, I believe.
Yeah, look at like, I know it's like not a fair comparison, but if you take something like Breath of the Wild and like how big the world is and how many different like foods you can make, and weapon degradation, where to find different shrines and all that sort of stuff. But like the focus on promoting that game was behind explaining the things that are found within the game and exploring those and shedding light on them and all those things. Whereas Cyberpunk was like, this giant toy box full of stuff, and like maybe some of the stuff in there is fun to play with, maybe it's not, but the two are in my mind at least, they're like the same style of game. It's just there's more clarity in what Breath of the Wild is versus what Cyberpunk is, and that's kind of, I guess, like Sean said, it's lost in the evolution.
And it was designed. I mean, Breath of the Wild was designed a hell of a lot better. I mean, yeah, any open world game, you're gonna have bugs and glitches, but not on the level of this, and not and like I said, so many times before, if I'm encountering a game breaking bug an hour into the game on a mainline story mission, not a side quest, not something I did, not something that the game maybe couldn't handle, on a mainline story mission where I was just simply playing the game, you obviously didn't test this. You obviously didn't care. And then, it gets into the whole thing where the employees are now pissed off because, these people are the ones that dedicated years of their lives to it. And now this is the game that's on your resume. Like, What if you want to leave the company and they're like, all right, so what games did you work on? Cyberpunk. Excuse me? Cyberpunk.
The company that made Witcher 3.
The position has been filled, like it's a bad look all around because they didn't have, I'm sure if you would have asked anyone who wasn't a shareholder, even though the shareholders are now trying to get involved with the class action suit, anyone who wasn't a shareholder or a bigwig at CD Projekt Red, if the game should have been delayed until next year, they all would have said yes. But those people wanted to get that quick, easy holiday cash. Oh, don't worry about it. We'll fix it as we go along. Right. And fuck Jeff Keighley, by the way.
Why? What's his story on this?
He made a joke about the whole Cyberpunk situation, and like it's because of motherfuckers like him that we get games like this, because they're overhyped. You sit there, you award No Man's Sky the best ongoing game, which was a game that, granted, it was from a much smaller company, and yes, they did, like somebody said in the chat, they did turn that game around, but it's because we allow things like this to where you literally can release a game and have years to fix it and then get credit for fixing it. Like, it's disgusting. I don't maybe it's because like I play so many games, but I can't imagine going back and revisiting a game that I bought 3 or 4 years ago, because now it's the way it's the way it's supposed to be. This is the way that we intended the game. And I will give Hello Games a pass more so than I would CD Projekt Red, because of company size and scope and all that shit. And really, Sony is almost to blame for
they were championing No Man's
exactly.
Sky.
Well, and that's kind of like that. So I was thinking about that as you were saying that. I don't mean to cut you guys both off, but the that's what I was gonna say is like CD Projekt Red created this problem themselves by exposing themselves so much and creating this hype to leave them open for something like this to happen. Whereas in No Man's Sky's case, it was Sony that was also, kind of
they were rallying it. They were like, "This is the game that you can like leave the planet and you can do all this shit." What
you do is like this fucking little indie studio, and Sony's going to throw money at you. And granted, that's their own fault for doing that, but I'm sure that it wasn't solely on the shoulders of Hello Games. Whereas this is completely created by CD Projekt Red, and whatever monies that was driving this process could have, I mean, I'm sure that was the case.
And it's ridiculous. Somebody else, Jake in the chat, said Street Fighter 5. Street Fighter 5 was the same way. I remember when that game came out, a buddy of mine that worked at the skate shop near me, I don't even know why I went in there. I think I needed a new board or something. And he was like, "Yo, you played Street Fighter 5 yet?" I was like, "Nah." And he was like, he's like a huge Street Fighter fan. And he was like, "It's good, but like it feels like there's a ton of stuff missing from this game. And I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, like it does, because and that's sort of the downside of the age that we live in now, is just, oh, we could fix it later, we could fix it. Like that's why I fucking hate day one patches. I despise them, especially when I'm like reviewing a game. That's the absolute worst. When I'm literally reviewing a game and the company is like, I'll just use arbitrary dates. The company is like, oh yeah, well we can, you can put up your review on the 28th, but a patch is going out on the 30th, and it's like, what?
What am I reviewing at that point?
What am I reviewing? Exactly. Like I am anticipating that this is the experience that somebody is going to get, and like now there's a whole big thing going around about NDAs, because I guess the NDA for Cyberpunk was revealed and stuff like that, where it was like your written review could be done at a certain time before your video review. And if you did a video review that was going up at that time, you could only use the B-roll that they sent you. You couldn't capture your own footage.
Yeah, that was a red flag.
And the like I said in my initial video on this whole situation that made me to be the antichrist of the Cyberpunk situation, no console review codes were actually given out until the game launched in New Zealand, because New Zealand was the first region to get it. Spawnway was talking about it last night, because we all put, it was on terminals. We all put in for a review code of it. And Spawn said that he bought the game from New Zealand the second he could. And at that exact same time, he got a review code for the PlayStation 4 version of the game. And he was like, that's the game they're playing. So, I mean, it was just, they knew the game sucked. They lied to people about the game sucking. Mm-hmm. And another problem is, and I don't want to hark on it too much, but the yellow chair. The yellow chair is definitely...
What's the yellow chair?
All the influencers, as people call them.
Oh, they got the Cyberpunk chair.
Yeah, because like if you go back and look, and granted, they had very controlled tests, I'm sure. And I'm sure all their stuff was built upon, if they played the game, it was the PC version of the game. And the company is sitting there telling you, this is going to be indicative of what you're getting on the console. But, just things like that. And like those people had to eat crow, unfortunately. And, I mean, it is what it is at the end of the day. And there are people that genuinely like the game. And if you genuinely like the game and you're having a good time and you don't have any problems with this shit, I don't care. Enjoy the game. Like, I don't understand. That's the one weird thing about YouTube is, like, I don't understand why people get necessarily so attached to someone's opinion on a video game. Like, I am literally just a strange individual who talks about video games on the internet and uploads a video on it. It's just my opinion at the end of the day. If you don't like my opinion, that's fine. I'm not telling you that you have to agree with my opinion. It's just my opinion.
Right. Well, people come online oftentimes to find validation. And that's one of the downsides of social media is regardless of whatever opinion you have, you can find someone that will validate that for you. And that's why we have this polarizing climate now of any topic. It's either you love it, you hate it, and then you've got cancel culture, and it's disgusting.
But that's that's the other side of the other side of the coin, is that that the companies, like the companies handling CD Projekt Red, they're banking off those people to have those circles of influence and validation, to then the reasons why they gave them to those people in particular is because they know the people that are surrounding them are gonna.
I would love to, if I had a time machine, I would love to go to CD Projekt Red's office throughout 2020, because how many times did they delay just this year? It was like 2 or 3 times, right? So
it was twice.
Okay, it was twice. So they had these these things came up. They clearly got a lot of feedback of this game is not ready to go out. We have these massive bugs. Or I'm sure it was more of that than, hey, we need to have this new feature. And they're like, okay, we'll delay it. And okay, the bugs are still there. Okay, what can we do to fix it? And there was this pressure, and I wonder what was the decision of, they must have seen all these bugs. They must have seen all the problems. And knowing that they could go to market before Christmas, the importance of getting this out before Christmas was more important. Like there was such a lack of foresight. Like I feel anybody could have seen that. No, this is gonna blow up if you have this much garbage in your game, this many like bugs. So I, I would love to just understand the logic that went into that decision making of just push it out and we'll deal with it later.
Christmas money. That's all
Greed.
it was. Greed, yeah. It was either make your shareholders, I don't think
They
that
have
they expected it.
they have the
I don't, I
shareholder
don't,
pressure. That's it.
no, but I don't necessarily think that CD Projekt Red thought it was going to blow up in their face quite like this because of how we've become almost numb to this, where people accept it. Games like Fallout, games like Fallout 76, games like No Man's Sky, like you just become almost accustomed to it, and it's just like, oh, we'll fix it later, and that's a major problem, and I don't think they foresaw. I mean, I had people, my mysterious, I don't know what he is. I call him an uncle, but he's not really an uncle. He's my mom's cousin. So we'll just say my mom's cousin. My mom's cousin, who literally is like 58 or 60 years old, and nobody knows what he does for a living at all. And I've actually asked him, because he used to pick me up from the train station when I lived in Delaware, and I'd come up here to visit. And I'd be like, oh, so no work today? It's like, oh, no, I just left the office. What do you do? Oh, just business related stuff. Oh, like what? Oh, it's just, yeah.
He just fucking peeled someone's cap back. Like,
well, and it's funny because he has this huge house and like this, like a pool in the backyard and a little garden area and stuff.
Shady.
But he drives, you know what he drives? A 1995 gold Chrysler Cirrus. And he loves that car so much that he had one for many years that crapped out on him, and he literally tracked down and bought another one, the exact same color. It's bizarre. But anyways, he texted me the other day, and he was like, what the hell's up with this Cyberpunk game everyone's talking about? I'm like, it's not good. He's like, I'm talking about it in the office. I was like, what office? And he just stopped texting me.
Okay, here I'm gonna play devil's advocate and ask this question.
Wait, I'll just plug this one.
Yeah, go for it.
Danica, my fiance, her mom said the same thing. She asked about it too. It's gotten so much publicity and coverage that even she is aware of the situation.
So I'm completely oblivious. Like I know Josh in the chat saying he's not seeing too many problems on the Xbox Series X, and I think it's more on the older consoles.
No, shh. Stop it.
What's your point?
It's the Xbox build of the game is better than the PlayStation version of the game.
There's that.
Because Microsoft was indirectly involved with the game. Because we remember the marketing for the game was exclusive to Microsoft platforms. Mm-hmm. So in the hierarchy, it's like PC build was here, Xbox build was here, and then PlayStation build was here.
Right.
And that's why Sony was the first to pull it and say, go fuck yourself with this refund shit, because they had no stake in it. And that was one of the things I brought up in one of my videos, my 30,000 videos on Cyberpunk, before Microsoft entered the fray and started doing refunds was, Microsoft has a lot more to lose than Sony does with this, because for Sony, this is just another game, it's whatever. But Microsoft had, probably paid, I would assume, millions and millions of dollars to have the exclusive rights to market this game. And then they lost their ass on it too. So it's funny how that worked out. But yes, the Xbox build of the game, there's core fundamental problems of the game on all versions. There are glitches on all versions that vary from time to time. It's not necessarily a thing where you can duplicate it. It's just the actual game's engine is very poorly built. Game-breaking bugs, as far as the game just shutting down while you're playing it, is most prevalent on PlayStation. I know it happened to Spawnwave on his PS5. He had 10 crashes. I have never had the game completely hard crash on me. Granted, I've only played about 10 hours of it because it's just not a fun game to me. But I never had the game hard crash. I did have game-breaking glitches. I did have bugs. I did have tons of graphical issues on the Xbox Series X that I felt should have been ironed out. But as far as... So, I mean, what I'm trying to say is there's levels to the bugs. There's levels to the glitches depending on what platform you're playing it on.
Okay. My question is mute now. I was just going to say, because this game has so much hype, do you think that there's a certain element to this backlash being so many influencers, so many people online trying to get in on the let's bash the thing that's been hyped for 5 years for views? And but I mean, there's so
I
much evidence, and the fact that
Well, I think
PlayStation and
that's part of it. I think that's you're not gonna get that.
I mean, this is a tough question for me to answer.
Yeah.
So I can only speak for me personally, and I think my stance on it has been consistent throughout. However, there have been a lot of other people that have done complete 180s on this game. As far even after the game released, they've done complete 180s on it. So, do you want to go against the grain? Some people don't. Some people don't like seeing, excuse me, 5,000 dislikes on their video, and that's no overstatement. I got over 5,000 dislikes on my first Cyberpunk video. It had more dislikes than likes initially, which is now flip-flopped. It's got more likes than dislikes on it. But it's just like, some people don't want to deal with that. They don't want to sort of, go against the grain as far as, the mentality is concerned. But yeah, I mean, some people probably are latching onto it, hoping to get some views off the situation, especially if they do YouTube, as a income based thing. Like, it's nature, it's natural. You want to go, if something's popular and you have an opinion on it, you might feel compelled to share that opinion. Personally, I only share opinions on things that I find interesting, at least for the most part. I would say 90% of the time. That's why I never talk about PC shit, like the fucking new cards that came out and shit.
Yeah,
scalping, like the whole scalping of that. Like, I didn't give a fuck about that, so I wasn't gonna try to sit there. See, exactly, but I can't sit there and act like I care about it if I don't really care about it. So that's why I just tend to talk about things that like I actually give a fuck about. But yeah, I mean, people are always gonna, and it's not even necessarily people who make content. It's just people in general on the internet, because they want to fit in. They don't want to go against the grain because of things like mob mentality and cancel culture and all that bullshit. People will just fucking gang up on you, and it's stupid. But you gotta. It's a balance.
It's like there was blood in the water, and it's just like everyone just.
Well, it's so confusing because
yeah, it's my blood.
There's like so many nuanced situations where it's specific to this console, this build, this, and I think that's getting lost in the confusion as to, like, in general, does the game suck? Does the game not suck? And then people are, having that debate while all of these issues are still starting to formulate. So I think there's like the community at large is still trying to determine, is it like what like,
it's that polarizing thing I'm saying. They're trying to find out, are we supposed to hate this? Or are we supposed to praise it? Because we were taught we were supposed to praise it for the last 5 years, but now this guy's hating it. Now this person's hating it. Now this... I hate it.
Yeah,
it's the internet.
And,
it's you pick
like
your
I said
camp.
before, I want to play it and then make my decision. And I would say my before, I was defending somewhat of the game is like, until I see what I see, then I'll make a decision based off that. So I do recognize that, but I will say, I mean, it's like a 75 maybe higher in my head. Like, I just hit the part where I hit the title card finally after, not returning to the game, and like things did pick up a little bit, but
story-wise it does.
Right.
I think it definitely does story-wise, but gameplay-wise you still have those core fundamental issues.
I don't necessarily like the voice acting in the game too. It's like, Polish people have never seen like people with American accents talk, and sometimes it's like, or heard people with American accents talk, because some of that is
some
just,
of the dialogue is very out of place.
I like the character models and designs. I think they're different and unique, and like I went by this one shop and it was some old dude with slick back hair, a wife beater on, and tats, and I was like, all right, I'd buy shit from this guy. And then like,
how you doing?
Yeah.
Want some shit?
What's up, gangster? Like,
it's almost like it's almost like Shenmue level of like Tom, the hot dog dealer. A couple things I want to talk about in the chat. Respawn Josh says, I think this has been blown way out of proportion. The YouTubers and gaming news sites are making their Xmas cash with all the views on the subject. I mean, to some extent, you are correct. I mean, if it's a popular topic that people are interested in, and there's something worth talking about with it, I think it. And I sort of said, like, in the chat, it's sort of like the Soulja Boy situation at 2020, which happened in, I think it was 2018, and it got me on World Star, baby. Got me on World Star. But I think this is a little different because of the fact that it's literally something happens every day.
There's
one day
item.
you have Sony taking it off a store and doing refunds. That's a big story. I mean, that's a big story. It's an unprecedented thing that you've seen. And then you have the next day, you have Xbox coming in. Like, that's a big story. Like, that's an update to it. So,
Best Buy start participating too.
Best Buy started up until tomorrow. Actually, you can return your thing. You can return your physical copy. There was more shit today. The save file stuff. EB Games in Australia took it off the shelves and isn't selling it anymore or something. And like, people can make videos about that. To me, those are kind of smaller issues. Like, I feel like I say this all the time, but I feel like I'm pretty much done with the Cyberpunk saga. I made a video on it yesterday, but it's kind of like, unless there's something absolutely batshit crazy happens, which I don't know if it will. I don't really foresee anything crazy happening.
Pulling it from all stores and reworking it.
Yeah, like pulling it from all stores, or like a disgruntled employee stabs someone at the place or something. Like,
Cyberpunked.
I don't think there'll be much worth talking about. But I mean, on the other side, like, I never expected my audience to give a fuck about my opinions on Cyberpunk. But when that first video did well in terms of at least views, not necessarily reception, but in terms of views, I was like, okay, well, this is a top. And like I said, there's different levels to YouTube, so you kind of have to look at it from a business perspective. If a topic if your audience is interested in a topic, and then something happens with that topic again, you kind of, okay, well, let's try it again. Let's see if they're still interested, and then you sort of gauge it on that. So, I don't really know where I was going with that, but
so much for, let's just sum this up real quick. Took the whole show. But I think to close it is, the takeaway here is the fact that PlayStation, Xbox have pulled and are offering refunds for a AAA game that had one of the biggest
Xbox
marketing
has not pulled it. Xbox has not pulled it.
Oh, they have not pulled it. But they're offering refunds.
They are offering refunds.
That, I think, as someone who does not care about Cyberpunk, and I don't see myself ever playing it, that is a big story, because I think that might start changing the course of, no, you don't just launch and fix it later. If you launch and it is too bad, you're getting not just a PR disaster, you're getting removed and people are getting their money back, which is a very, very different story for developers who are considering now putting something, knowing it's faulty, with the hope of building it later. So I hope that at the end we just end up getting better day one games. I think that's the takeaway here. The big takeaway.
Nico says there's a disclaimer on Xbox's thing saying that the game suffers from performance issues until it gets updated. And I'm not going to return my copy, because I mean, I could, but it's kind of like, at this point, it's like, I mean, let's be realistic. I made my money back, and quite considerably then some because of this game. So if they got my $60 out of me, whoop-de-doo.
It's a lost leader.